On tonight's edition of the CHGO Cubs Related podcast, we are still awaiting Jed Hoyer's big move. We'll see what they have in store, talk about all the rumors and what the Cubs have done thus far, all on tonight's edition of the CHGO Cubs Related podcast. This is the CHGO Cubs Related podcast presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Good evening, everyone. My name is Corey. I am joined, as always, by Brendan. We are coming to you. What is today's date? It is Thursday, December 18th.
I don't think you ever know the date during the off season. I really don't.
No, we're wrapping up our regular day jobs ahead of the holiday season. The Cubs don't play. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter what day it is, does it?
I feel like I track time by the baseball schedule in the season.
Yeah. That's like how I track most of my memories as well.
Same. Like everyone has, the 4 seasons, the snow. I'm like, all right, October, off season, winter meetings, April. That's how I track time.
If somebody was like, do you remember going to that restaurant? I'd be like, I don't think so. Be like, oh, it was the day the Cubs played the Diamondbacks in that crazy game. Oh, yeah, that restaurant. Yeah, totally. Now I remember.
I do the same thing, actually. We're sick.
Of course.
Absolutely sick.
Yeah. Okay. So we're back with you. We are still waiting a major move. We do have, hello to everybody in our live YouTube chat. Appreciate you joining us. The Cubs signing Tyler Austin, former Yankee, bringing him back from Japan. Small move, just, I believe, a little north of $1 million. It is a major league contract, but I think a pretty clear guy to hit lefties, platoon perhaps with Michael Busch on occasion, hopefully not all the time, and just be not quite as old as Justin Turner and not quite as expensive. Subtract each by like 5 or 6, age and millions of dollars. And that's sort of what this move looks like.
Well, the offseason is not done yet. You could bring JT right back in this clubhouse, Corey.
Hey, if you're asking for it, if you're clamoring for it, Brendan, I'm not going to stop you.
He's your guy.
Not anymore. So we will take a look at that. Some reliever names off the board. Former Cub, the Demon, Brad Keller, going to Philadelphia. So we'll talk about those moves, in the context of the Cubs, who's available, et cetera, et cetera. We'll continue to look at the rumors. We will once again ruminate on whether Alex Bregman might be a Chicago Cub for the 50th time in the last 2 years.
It has to be at least like realistically the 12th time.
How many more? And it might necessarily, to really reach that territory, probably have to go another offseason. He'd have to sign a 1-year deal. You already know what I'm going to ask. Yeah. How do you get into the Jake Peavy, Brian Roberts territory? Bregman, I don't think quite there, but it's close. It's 2 off seasons in a row.
Brian Roberts will never be another Brian Roberts. Ever, ever, ever. The mystique during that time without social media was next level.
Yeah.
Jake Peavy, unless I hear about Bregman in a Pucci's or a Portillo's out in Chicago, I don't think we're going to get anything close to Jake Peavy singing in the bar. But you never know.
Those were the days.
So young. Those were the days.
Those were the days. Now, and I'm not Luke Stuckmeyer old, but Brendan and I are relatively old, I think, at this point. You got a whole generation being raised on Twitter rumors and Discord rumors and fake accounts trying to pretend to be Jeff Passan, and everybody's got sources. The real trenches were the message boards where you were getting these updates.
Gosh.
I do wonder, like, when we're older and losing our minds in so much as we haven't already, like, you could probably convince us, like, no, Brian Roberts was on the Cubs. Of course he was. Why do I have all this knowledge of Brian Roberts? He didn't play for the Cubs.
We're going to be 85 years old. You and I in our rocking chairs doing Cubs related shows, reminiscing about Brian Roberts on the Cubs that never happened.
Yeah.
That's gonna be our future.
So there, once again, there is a lot to talk about. Even if the Cubs have not made fairly significant moves, the expectation still seems to be there. And I think the question that you have asked, and is sort of perhaps the guiding one of this podcast, Brendan, is the Tatsuya Imai sweepstakes does have a deadline to wrap up. And as we have seen in years past with different players, when there was sort of one person maybe waiting to be the domino effect of the entire market, not necessarily saying that that's Imai, but when you consider the Cubs have had a connection there, depending on who you believe and the rumors you like to read, like perhaps a guy that Jed really likes. We've obviously seen the Cubs have success with guys coming over from the MPB before. Is it possible that that decision is potentially holding up other moves? And this also pairs well with, I think, a question I posed last week, Brendan, in the it's always sort of if you're planning on doing A, B, and C, you sometimes need A to happen before you can do B and before you can do C. But we talked about sort of the different ways of thinking. If you were thinking of pulling a trade for a young, cost-controlled starting pitcher, do you need to get a decision on Alex Bregman before you do that? If not, would you pivot to someone like Michael King or Imai or Framber Valdez? Or in this case, the question you were kind of posing, do you need an answer from Imai if that is indeed your guy before you then see how much money you would have left for Alex Bregman, for any of these other relievers, or another starter? And that's the question of the day. We don't know.
I think it doesn't matter if the Cubs even end up signing Imai. It's about the negotiation process. If the Red Sox are involved in Imai, we haven't heard, explicit connections. We have heard explicit connections, whether it's true or not, with the Cubs and Yankees, quote unquote, being finalists. Although a sports anchor from the Yes Network just a few hours ago said, well, the Yankees are not seriously involved, but just keep watching, to paraphrase. It's a matter of the negotiation process. If a major team is involved in Alex Bregman and that same team is involved in Imai, well, all of a sudden, if you sign Imai, you may lose that other team bidding for a player. So if you're an agent, you want the most teams bidding for your player as possible. That means if you're a team, you're going to wait until one of the other teams bows out. And if that's the case, you could maybe drive that price down. So if you're a front office, you're probably waiting things out, always in constant negotiation. And then once January 2nd does come around, some clarity in Imai's contract status, and the likelihood of you signing him, and then you can appropriately pivot if you need to pivot. That is what I think is going to happen, unless some front office gets a little anxious. They want to jump the gun and sign one of these guys, even though they're still involved in Imai.
Yeah, and I mean, over the course of the last week, we've had a new entrant, the Arizona Diamondbacks, in the Alex Bregman sweepstakes. I got to tell you, like, in a vacuum, whatever, but like, if Bregman's their guy, and like these reports over the last 2 off seasons are true, and they can't match the offer of the Arizona Diamondbacks, like, that'd be mighty annoying.
The Diamondbacks have had several offers that are what we would see or hope to see the Cubs make. Going back to Zach Greinke, more recently with Corbin Burns, the Diamondbacks sometimes do surprise you. Even Madison Bumgarner, I know, is $80 million, I think, for 2 years, but surprises a lot of folks. They have cash, and sometimes we don't think.
Perhaps a good lesson in, free agency. 2 of those 3 moves, probably you go back and don't do. But
I mean, I have a lot of D-backs fans friends. They don't like any of those moves.
So as we continue, I do want to say hello to Daniel in our live YouTube chats. I've been waiting for you guys all day. Appreciate that. That's rather flattering. That gives us something to live up to.
Do you wait for me all day? Are you like Daniel? You just can't wait to talk with me? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure.
I wake up thinking about it.
Like,
Brendan.
finally, I get to talk to Brendan today.
When
Horizontal release angles.
I like the implication that you and I aren't allowed to talk to each other unless we're on air.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the only time I talk to you.
We have our good friend Niren in the chat. Niren, I believe, much more a proponent of Gino Suarez at third base, if I'm reading our tweets together correctly, than Bregman. And that's an interesting one. A few years older, but the offense has been better. Downgrade on defense, which we talked about a lot when there were rumors maybe the Cubs would be interested in him at the trade deadline. We can talk about all of that. I think to start, though, why don't we just do Tyler Austin? We'll continue on Imai. I think that's obviously an interesting one. And I know you've broken that down a little bit, but kind of as some of those rumors pick up, I know the Phillies probably going to be involved there. You're just going through again, like what you like about him, what you don't. But Tyler Austin, I think this one's pretty simple. This again, we talked about this last week with some of the lower level, like bullpen options they're adding. It's the type of move when you have not made your big offseason move. You haven't replaced Kyle Tucker. You haven't added back to the rotation. There's just a certain segment of the fan base that is going to read this and lose their mind about it. Like, oh, they're penny pinching again. Here comes some rando the Cubs are going to try. This is a perfectly fine depth move. We've talked about them replacing the depth. It's an extremely low commitment, even with their, self-imposed like financial constraints, a little north of $1 million. And during his time in the majors a few years ago, hit lefties pretty well over in Japan, hit lefties well. And similar to the way that we talked about Justin Turner last year going into the season, Brendan, like that's what they're looking to him to do is spell Michael Busch, maybe just occasionally, right? Because obviously they're going to continue wanting to get Busch some experience there and let him hit against some lefties. But if you can have a guy on the bench, and I think this is one of those, like, it's pretty low risk and potentially decent reward. Maybe you have a guy who found something over in the MPB. He's unlocked some more of that slug. He comes in, he plays every handful of starts. When you're facing a left-handed pitcher, this is not something that I would get worked up about. And to be honest with you, because of the lower level commitment relative to guys that we've seen in the past, he's not making as much money as Justin Turner was. He's not making as much money as like Trey Mancini was, guys like that. Like, if he's no good and this doesn't work out, it's a lot easier to move on. It's not a particularly big commitment. And yeah, so I'm intrigued to see if it can work and they, kind of find a diamond in the rough there. But other than that, it's a depth move. It's fine.
The diamond in the rough is something that I think a lot of Cub fans have heard about over the past few years. And they see a lot of the money right now available, which if you go to MLB COTS, they are about $45 million below that first tier of the tax. Like everyone, we get a little anxious during the offseason. We think, oh my gosh, we're signing Tyler Austin. I haven't heard about Tyler Austin since he got into a fight 7 years ago.
I didn't even remember that.
I didn't
Our
even
wonderful
remember
producer
that.
Sarah brought that up. I was
right.
like, I don't even think I remember that.
Thank you, Sarah. He had success in Japan, though, for reasons that you highlighted. Just to go a little bit deeper, he's someone in Japan who showed the ability to be selective, but also aggressive. Selective in the fact that his chase rate was consistently in the 90th plus percentile, hit the ball in the air at an exceptional rate, does have swing and miss in his game. But overall, when he does make contact, it was damage, it was in the air, and it was selective. And when he did play Major League Baseball, had the lefty platoon split.
Yeah.
So
132 career WRC plus against left-handed.
That's
pitching.
right. That's right. So for $1 million, guess what? If it doesn't work out, it's $1 million. It's not a big deal.
And hey, like, this type of thing at least has more, call it likelihood. Like, where is our second half Andrew Vaughn off the scrap heap?
Well,
right?
Yeah.
The Eric Thames, like, the Brewers just pulling these guys out of nowhere and getting these huge performances for half a season or a season. Where is that for us? Is it Tyler Austin? I don't know.
It's an interesting story to follow, too. I mean, you're rooting for someone who comes back from international play. You always got a little bit of extra juice in there. You want to prove to yourself and the teams that you're good to be playing Major League Baseball again. So at the very least, it's an intriguing storyline.
When wasn't he fighting Joe Kelly? I mean, I'll ride for anybody fighting Joe Kelly.
I guess he was, though.
I think Joe Kelly might have punched him in the face, but still.
Is that what happened?
I didn't say he won the fight.
Was that 2018 though? Was that the time?
I was watching the video. I can't remember.
Yeah, you gotta pull it up as I do this.
Anyway,
here.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting enough move, and if you have any concern at the moment that he's going to get this like majorly significant role, and this is like one of their big plans, it's not. It's a depth move, trying to be more interesting than that, than like last year where it was, a DFA, former top prospect in Brujan, but who had never really done anything at the MLB level, an older, speedy, fine kind of guy in Birdie, and then a much older guy in Turner who you were hoping kind of still had it.
Boy, did that
So
bench
this is
suck
at least
last year.
a different way of going about that, but it's a fine depth move and not much more than that.
Okay.
But hopefully, maybe it turns out to be something that we look back on like, hey, nice, you took a swing and you hit a home run on this. But we'll talk more about the offseason when we come back from our first ad break here in a moment.
Okay, hey Cubs fans, Toyota has you covered no matter where the road takes you. Right now, Toyota offers 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. It's built for real life in Chicago and beyond, and those icy roads right now. Take the RAV4, its legendary versatility, whether you're running errands during the week or loading up for a weekend road trip, or if you need space, the Grand Highlander delivers an adult-sized third row that's actually comfortable. It's perfect for family, friends, and everything that comes with them. And if adventure is your thing, the Tacoma brings its wild side standard. It's ready for job sites, campsites, and everywhere in between. From early mornings to late game nights, there's an all-wheel or four-wheel drive Toyota built to get you there in style. Find yours at toyota.com or visit your local Chicagoland Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places. Game Day Men's Health is here to support your health journey. Whether your goal is peak performance or simply becoming a better father, a better husband, a better man, at Game Day, everything starts with personalized care built around your goals. It's not a one-size-fits-all plan. The process is simple and fast. You're in, you're out, often in under an hour. These are all family-owned local clinics that focus on relationships and real results with an extremely high success rate. From testosterone optimization or vitamin therapy to weight loss and hair restoration, Game Day Men's Health helps you feel better, move better, and show up with more energy every single day. You can start your best life with Game Day Men's Health. All you got to do, scan the QR code on the screen or visit GameDayCHGO.com to find one of their locations near you.
All right, Brendan, back with you. Let's quickly just go over the reliever market and just see where we're at there. So Brad Keller and Luke Weaver, two guys who, obviously the Cubs connected to Keller. I don't know that they were ever so connected to Weaver, but it sort of made sense if they were looking
there were some ideas, but no explicit connections.
Yeah. And at this point, I don't know. Do the connections mean anything? Half the time, it's nothing anyway. I don't know what matters in the off season anymore. It's kind of hard to tell. But they get the exact same deal: 2 years, $22 million. I didn't really bat an eye at either of those. I think it would be interesting. Last week we come on and talk about how we kind of like trust the way the Cubs have developed their bullpens. There's some risk involved, but there's also risk in paying big money in the higher end reliever market. So it would be, I think, fairly hypocritical to come on the next week and be like, why aren't they doing this? They should have done this. I will say, like, I did think those were reasonable deals. I mean, either of those guys for $11 million a year. I understand, maybe some of the trepidation in, you got a lot out of Keller. Do you want to then like bank on that continuing for another couple years? I don't know if the Phillies would give him any opportunity at all to start. I know that was one of those rumors that maybe he would look into that. So I'm not necessarily losing any sleep over this. Do think those deals pretty reasonable. I would have been fine with the Cubs. I would have been pretty pleased with the Cubs doing either of those. And I think the bigger takeaway, though, we've heard them connected in this market and potentially looking at continuing to add, even with the names that they've added so far. And with those guys going, that list just shrinks. So if it is an area that they're looking at, and this goes back to kind of the way we laid things out in the beginning, like if their self-imposed financial limits make it so that Jed has to be like, hey, like, Brad, we liked having you here. Even if you were interested in coming back here, even if we could have gotten you for a little less than the Phillies did, we can't commit that money right now. We need to know if we're winning the Imai sweepstakes. We need to know if Bregman's coming here, whatever the moves they have going on in the background, which, that's not like a great outcome if they were interested in these players. So that's really the only thing that stands out. I do trust them. There is risk in putting together a bullpen either way, but we have heard them connected and seemingly interested in this end of the reliever market, and those are two really solid options that are now off the board.
It did appear as if they were connected to Brad Keller for obvious reasons, right? Jed has a history of having the stick in the sand that if the offer is over his comfort line, they're just not going to make it. You can imagine maybe there was an offer for, I don't know, 9.5 million AAV and you got 11 million AAV. That may have been the threshold, and Jed is going to make sure every move he makes fits his projected value. That could be one instance. The second instance, like you said, is they're trying to make all these other moves fit the puzzle, and the extra, let's say 3 million to 5 million does have an effect, and they rather spend not on trying to go after a starting pitcher or go after the Bregman sweepstakes. Also, too, think about Keller's value and what he'll do. He'll go into Philly not as the closer, right? He'll go in as a high leverage guy, but he won't go in as like the ninth inning guy in the classical conventional sense. The Cubs right now could be looking in the free agent market. You have Peter Fairbanks. I think the critique with Fairbanks is similar to the one with Brad Keller. Number one is durability. Number two is the lack of high whiffs. Both of those two pitchers don't get many whiffs. They both go about their business differently. There may be more room for optimization with Peter Fairbanks at a cheaper price than what they ultimately Philly gave Brad Keller. Then there's Sir Anthony Dominguez. We've never heard the Cubs connected to him, but this is a pitcher in Toronto, past 3 years at minimum 50 innings every single year. If you like whiffs, he's your guy. He has a whiff rate near the 90th percentile, and that could be a pitcher who the Cubs see as one of those fireman type roles to get whiffs. The bullpen last year wasn't particularly whiff prone. A lot of those guys relied on generating weak contact and avoiding barrels. To their credit, it's possible the Cubs are looking for someone at a cheaper rate, or if not at a cheaper rate, at a more projectable rate in the form of getting more whiffs. Maybe someone like Dominguez.
Fair enough. And I, was reading our friends over at Bleacher Nation, and it's, I thought they did make a good point, like Drew Pomeranz signing somewhere else as well. Good for Drew. It is a good thing when you bring in guys who, previously were struggling or, not successful at the major league level or playing different roles, and you help them turn it around and you help them get paid. Again, I know people don't want to hear the like, oh, wow, great. Like now Philly has Brad Keller because they gave him money and we can't. I get it. I trust me, I do. But organizationally, we do talk about these things, like reputation matters. All these things we're talking about too, Bregman, Imai, all these things. Ultimately, like guys usually pick the money, but where they want to play and the organization they want to play for does matter. And it does play a role in these things. So it is good to see guys that were good for the Cubs, help them make the playoffs, help them win a playoff series, go get money somewhere else. It does help the organization's reputation, even as annoying as it is to be doing that when it's like, okay, well, I kind of wish we had the money for Brad Keller, but
that's what you would want. If you're a 30-plus-year-old guy trying to resurrect your career and you see, hey, this guy came over and now he's making 22 million. I want to be part of that. Oh, they got Tyler Zombro and Shred Athletics and Tommy Hodavy's decade experience with this team working together in tandem with the front office. That's what you would want as someone who needs and wants to get that contract.
Yes, agreed. All right. So yeah, I think that's the status of the bullpen thing. It's going to be interesting to see if they, how call it committed they are to making, further additions in that realm. I
That's
think
the
it's
question, right?
I think it's necessary. I mean, I think right now y- y- you really need to hit on your strategy to find those, guys that you're putting at the back end of the bullpen. But again, it is tough. Like I don't. It's hard for me to sit here and like demand that they spend significant money on bullpen guys. It's just the biggest risk. Let's put it this way: they impose their own financial limits, right? So I do like that matters. But if we're sitting here going into spring training and they have not spent significant money and they have not upgraded in these areas, then yes, you can look back on any of these things and say, hey, well, you should have spent money in the bullpen. Like it's similar to when we talked about the Bellinger money, right? Like if they don't spend, not that it's Brad Keller money, but if they don't make significant additions, then yes, we can go back and say, hey, like if you weren't going to sign Alex Bregman or Tatsuya Imai and you were going to be this much under the low, and you spend these smaller amounts on some of these higher leverage bullpen guys. But until
That is
they
a risk that they're
done or
willing to
haven't done
make.
anything, yeah, it's as always with the offseason, like kind of have to wait until it's done. I get the frustration of the lack of significant moves and, waiting for them to replace Tucker, or add to the rotation and seeing other guys fly off the board, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of runway left. So until it
Well,
doesn't happen, it's hard to say.
we know for sure, maybe it's not for sure, but multiple sources, Bruce, uh, uh, Levant, he goes on air. We know the Cubs are going to spend around $50 million. You can start adding up the dollar signs. If you sign Brad Keller, that would have been $11 million. If you want to sign Bregman, that's probably $30 million. Let's round down to 40 million. If you want to sign Amai, that's 25 at the minimum. You're looking at 65 to $70 million committed in a third baseman, a starting pitcher, and a back end reliever. That exceeds what we've heard. So, from the Cubs' perspective, Brad Keller is gone, of course, but there's still options in the back end bullpen market that allows him to still consider Bregman and Amai at the same time. So as long as those options are available, the Bregman option, the Bo Bichette option, the Amai option, Zac Gallen option, then they're going to wait the market out. It's not as if this is the very last reliever, and that's what they should. I believe what's probably likely is they're going to have two of those three pieces of the puzzle to fit. So it could be Bregman and a closer, it could be a closer and a
Yeah.
starting pitcher, and it could be, a starting pitcher and Bregman. I find it hard to believe unless they ask for going over the budget from ownership that they're able to land all three of those pieces.
Yeah, well, and obviously possibility of trades and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. And they're,
But
of course, they're considering that too, right?
yes, yeah. So yeah, ultimately, look, like right now, this team is worse than they were last year. That's like a
Yeah.
plain way of looking at this. Now, granted, you know, you hope to get more contribution, obviously, from someone like Justin Steele. You hopefully have a full season of Cade Horton pitching at a similar level. Guys put it together, et cetera, et cetera. So there's obviously hope in positive direction changes, but they are not. They're not a better team. They're blatantly a worse team at this moment than when they ended the season. They know they have to fix that. Like they will address that in some way, whether it's sufficient to what we want. I don't know. We'll evaluate that. But like you can rest assured if they don't make a further addition on offense and their big move this offseason is Zac Gallen, you're not going to hear me and Brendan praising Jed Hoyer and the work they've done this offseason. Like they'll be held to the fire, but until it doesn't happen, I just don't want to react preemptively. But again, like I see it
No.
in our YouTube chat, I see it on social media. I get the feeling from some that's just like they're not going to do anything. They're going to bow out of these markets when the price gets too high. If the Diamondbacks offer that 6th year, Jed's gonna no thanks. Like, I get it. I'm not naive to why people feel that way.
The market is just not fully developed yet. It's developing at a longer pace than what we've seen in some seasons. It's just the nature of the sport. And unfortunately
Which
for
really
us,
stinks, by the way.
yeah, I go back and forth with this because the rumors are kind of fun to talk about. Kind of keeps you waiting a little bit. But I know you're shaking your head. But for better or for worse, we're talking about these rumors for 2 months, right? So we've had these discussions. Some fans enjoy that long process. I'm not one of them. I wish we had
Me
a
either.
deadline in the end of November. I don't want
Yeah,
to be
I want
doing
like a
any of this.
flurry like the NBA.
Yeah,
Like, it's all
yeah.
done and we
Well,
have to
that's
sit
well,
back and process it.
well, you
All right,
may get you may get that with the salary cap.
we'll keep talking Cubs off season. We're going to take our second ad break here, but we'll be back in a couple minutes with more.
All right. Let's see. Sunnyside. Football season is just better when you've got the right setup, and our friends at Sunnyside Dispensary are here to help you elevate your game days. What I love about Sunnyside is how easy it is. It's judgment free, the whole experience, whether you're new or you know exactly what you want. Their staff actually helps you find the right fit. They've got a huge selection, over 100 different strains. You can order online, then swing by for quick in-store pickup. It is super smooth. And no matter where you are in Illinois, there's probably a Sunnyside nearby, from Champaign all the way up to South Beloit. They've got locations across the state with expert guidance waiting for you. Plus, head to their website for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. All you got to do is use promo code HICHGO at checkout. Returning customers use CHGO 50. Exclusions do apply. Sunnyside Dispensary, bright buys every day. Must be 21 or older or an Illinois card medical holder. New vehicles are in store at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and this is your chance to score a great deal at the year-end sales event. Head to Ray CDJR in Route 12 to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram vehicles. Right now, get 0% financing for 72 months available on new models, plus shop over 125 vehicles, priced under $20,000 with a friendly team of brand experts. The team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. With a Ray's price promise, you can shop confidently with no add-ons or hidden fees. Ever, the price you see, it's the price you pay. It is that simple. Go check out our partner to shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories to find the right new vehicle for you. Do not miss out on their year-end sales event for huge savings on new models. For more info, visit Race CDJR today at Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at racecdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
All right, Brendan, back with you. Let's just run through on Tatsuya Imai one more time. And just discuss, we've broken down a lot of these guys. It is interesting that I feel like we've heard some of the reports and really even markets maybe kind of cool for some of these guys, certainly potentially related to what we've talked about. One guy, excuse me, maybe has offers out there. They're waiting to kind of figure it out. But I don't know. I kind of thought at this point in the offseason, at the beginning, we were hearing a lot more Michael King. Like, not even just the Cubs, just like every day, something new with Michael King. I feel like it's been pretty quiet on that front. Even a guy like Kyle Tucker, like I kind of went into this offseason, not necessarily the Cubs after the way things kind of shook out there. But I don't know. I just sort of expected maybe more of a fervor there, like his visits and, what's going on. I feel like I don't really hear anything other than that he was in, I think, Florida at like Toronto's facility a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, his market's been super quiet, hasn't it? You heard nothing about Kyle Tucker.
Maybe Jed can
maybe
get him
he comes
for,
back.
Yeah, $5 million. Yeah. The original Bellinger deal.
Right.
But yeah, so I know you've laid out your preferences. I know you've laid out what these guys bring to the rotation. But if Tatsuya Imai is the topic of the day, let's call it, let's give me a quick elevator pitch for it and maybe reiterate some of the, call them, concerns that you've had just looking at the profile.
The concern, if you want to use that extreme word.
I like that you did that part first.
Yeah, of course. Let's start with the bad news first, right? He's not the typical mold for projections. If you're a risk-averse front office, or rather you want some confidence in your projections, he's not going to fit that mold. The reason for that is twofold. fastball shape, he's unique. Low release point, has run on it, has carry on it. Typically, those fastballs, I'll give you a few comps. Luis Ortiz, hopefully he's not a gambler. Spencer Arrighetti is another comp. Those guys, of course, one had success, the other one did not have success. Trying to project the fastball is a little bit different. Second unique trait is he has that reverse splitter. So the splitter in some cases looks like a slider. It's very unique. Because of that, you're trying to measure him up against certain other pitchers. Well, those pitchers don't necessarily exist. It leaves room for error in projecting Imai. At the same time, it is those traits that make him interesting, that make him someone that you could see the Cubs wanting to spend that money and take that risk. So the same traits that make him appealing, it also makes some front offices a little apprehensive. My preference at this point in the Cubs stage of their win window is I would like to take less of a risk. I see that right now they have a lot of money coming off the books. They have a lot of pre-arbitration guys. My view is that because of that combination and their win projection, likely in the upper 80s, I don't want to take that risk. I want to shrink down that lower end tail. That way I know we're going to be a playoff team. That means I look at someone like Framber Valdez. I said this in past. That is a more projectable profile, and that would allow the Cubs to have more confidence in projecting those wins, and that makes that tail, that bad case outcome, still within the realm of possibility of making the playoffs.
I need to make one of those, like the handshake meme, Brendan, Jed Hoyer, risk averse.
I mean, at this point, it's a different discussion.
No, I get it.
Because we talked about extremes probably since from 21 to 24. The theme of these shows was probably extremes. My version of the extreme was, I want to beat projections by 10 wins. That means I want to go out. I want to be a little bit more aggressive with giving Christopher Morel playing time at third base. We saw it too late. I want to go out, make some deals for pitchers who are crazy outliers, those types of situations. In this scenario, because I have a greater understanding of what the 26 roster looks like, that's manifested in being close to a 90-win team. I'm uncomfortable taking those risks for someone of that stage of his career in Imai. I rather spend that money and get projectable value because the playoffs are now at that realistic stage.
Yes, that does make sense. And it also, it pairs exactly with the conversation we've had about kind of wishing they were being a bit more aggressive with their spending in this offseason. Like, this is not 2022 where you're a bunch of wins away from even being a competitive playoff team. Like, push over this offseason, you've got a really good team. Like, the foundation is there. So again, a lot of offseason to go. I don't want to accuse them of the penny pinching just yet. But even the self-imposed limits that they operate on, it's like, this foundation's really good. Like, if you guys just really supplemented. So I do understand, when you explain kind of the potentially less risk in terms of someone like Valdez and just slotting him in, you kind of know what you're getting, and that would help this team a lot.
I think you can make the same argument in terms of value. I'm not preferring this, but you can make the same value argument for Zac Gallen because he's going to be cheaper. And what I mean by the confident projection is Gallen fits that mold of what are the reasons for his success and failures. You also have the foundation of when he was good and the foundation of when he was bad. So you have a snapshot of what went well for him. And so you can use that information to get him back to that stage. Gallen may be someone you're shaking your head at me all you want.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm agreeing in terms of the safety of it or the lack of risk.
No.
Or maybe I'm hearing you wrong.
Safetiness. It's about your ability to project money and value ranges. If Gallen's making $80 million, by the reports we've heard, that may be 50% cheaper than Imai. and you know what a good version of Gallen looks like, and you've had success with pitchers with those profiles in the past 3 seasons, that may allow you to go out and get Gallen and Alex Bregman and maybe even a reliever as well.
I got
It's
you.
all part of the puzzle, right? It's all. So do I prefer Imai over
Yeah.
Gallen? Yes, in a vacuum. But that's not how the Cubs front office
Yes.
operates.
Yeah, the Gallen, like I hear what you're saying with Gallen, but that would scare me as their main. I mean, guy coming off a horrid year, dealt with injury. I don't know. I
don't know.
hear you in terms of like, you know what his success looks like if he can be healthy and you can dial in on what he's been successful with you have a reputation of being able to handle, right? Like as a staff. But I don't know, man. That just a big rotation of older guys coming off arm injuries. I'm like, man, there's just a potential that Colin Ray is your only standing starter by the middle point of the season.
It's a value-driven front office. If the $80 million fits the puzzle, then that's the value they prefer, right? That's how they've always operated.
Can I get a ring-driven front office? How do I sign up for that?
I mean, for better, for worse, that's why you go out and you sign the Dansby Swanson, the Jameson Tyones, because you had the foundation.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand. All right. I do think interesting point. It just as we're talking about names too. I don't have my glasses on, so my vision is not great. But I think it says LT Traveler 2458 in our YouTube chat. Is that what that says? I think.
I don't know. I think it says It Traveler. Right?
It's hard. The glare on my glasses doesn't work when we record these, so I just don't wear them. So, but similarly, in terms of like markets we haven't heard a lot, like Bo Bichette too. Yeah. Bo Bichette, Akamoto coming over from Japan. These are all potential options. We've talked about, the Cubs' success in the international market and like potential guys that, maybe they would look at. And it definitely doesn't all boil down to Alex Bregman or bust or Tatsuya Imai or bust. It's a lot of different avenues for the Cubs to make this team better in free agency or via the trade market in terms of guys that, perhaps they feel are extra.
There's a lot of guys in the market. Anecdotally, it feels like more than past 3-4 years, I feel like, right? I mean, we're entering Christmas and most of the market, the top end market's available. Besides, the only guy was like Dylan Cease and Schwarber coming off the market. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is still there.
And Alonso, I guess.
And Alonso, that one exceeded my expectations, actually. So,
yeah. Well, in Baltimore, just I love their commitment to the just like we're paying attention to one half of baseball. I do enjoy that. Yeah. Offense is all that matters. we'll figure the rest out later. But it is interesting. Like, like some of these guys, like Bo Bichette, obviously a very interesting name. And it's interesting to see how that market shakes off, for him. How does it relate to Bregman? And, of course, it all pairs together. Like the Red Sox certainly look like a team that need to make a bigger move. If Bregman does decide to go somewhere else, how do they pivot? How do they address? Because their fans are having the same conversation we are. They're feeling the same way that, they have a good, talented group that they need to keep supplementing, not let talent leave from. So, unfortunately, you're, as always, competing with these other teams in terms of where do these guys want to go? And if they miss out on who they think their primary target is, do they then come and, it's been in the news a lot, the movie, do they come and drink your milkshake? Like from There Will Be Blood. You probably haven't seen that movie.
No, I haven't.
It's a little too, high culture for you, but
shut up.
It's not. But anyway, it is interesting. Of like, let's say some of we've talked the pitching a lot, but like on the offensive side of things, do any of those names outside of Bregman, does your mind even wander to any of those guys? Or if they didn't hit on Bregman, would you kind of just expect the Cubs to run with their guys, give some runway to the younger guys? Because we really haven't heard any connection to them on a guy like Bo Bichette. And I think maybe like loosely on Akamoto, like in the beginning when some of the, players who were deciding they were going to be posted. But I don't know that we've heard anything like really tangible there in either front.
Let's take the ad break here, talk about Bregman, Bichette, and the rest of the positional market. But yeah, there is interest in all the above. We'll talk about it. But first, let's talk about your next weekend escape, or maybe just your next big night out, because Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee is everything you need in one spot. We're talking thousands of the latest slots and table games. And if you're ready to refuel, you've got a ton of amazing restaurants and bars to choose from. Whether you're feeling fancy or just want a quick bite, they've also got you covered. You don't even have to leave the property. You can stay in style at their luxury hotel, just steps away from what many call the Midwest best sportsbook. And if you're heading to a ball game this summer, you can start your day right at Potawatomi. You're going to hit the sports book, then head out to the game. It's all right there, super convenient. Milwaukee's got a full summer lineup coming up. Concerts, festivals, sports, you name it. Potawatomi is the perfect home base for all of it. Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee, your win is waiting. Go check it out. Oh, man, I miss baseball. Nothing beats going to Wrigley, the crowd, the noise, cheering with other fans. But honestly, getting tickets, that is usually the worst part. Endless queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout. All you want to do is be there in the moment. That's why I've been using the Game Time app. It gives the advantage back to me, the fan. It's basically the hack for unlocking great tickets in just a few taps. If you're trying to find the fix for this offseason, waiting on baseball, go to some NHL games. I looked at some NHL games. It took me 5 minutes to find awesome seats at a great price because their app is super intuitive. I love their seat view feature. You can actually see the view from your seat before you buy, and their zone deals are clutch. You can pick a selection. Game Time picks the seats, and you save. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You also get the Game Time guarantee. You know your tickets are 100% authentic and delivered on time, or they'll make it right. You can download the Game Time app today, create an account, use code CHGO for $20 off for your first purchase. Download Game Time today.
All right, Brendan, back with you. Last 15. See some other names in the chat. Aaron says Brandon Lowe. Murakami, also another option. Was reading some stuff, about the kind of comps there on the offensive side in terms of, I think, the swing and miss. And that would be an interesting one just to see how that would translate over into
that's the big concern is swing and miss.
Yeah, the profile coming over, you would sort of I forget, it might have been Eno Saris. It sounds like an Eno thing. Yeah. Just kind of comparing like hitters that had a similar profile and zone rates and stuff like that, and looking at that in the majors. And it wasn't a good list to be on. But of course, a lot of variables there when guys come over, how the organizations tinker with them and stuff like that. So we were talking about some of those other potential options on the offensive side. I could certainly see, guys like Brandon Lowe, some of those more depth pieces. If they're not able to land a guy that they like in Bregman, I can see them kind of just trying to fill out the offense in a way that we've talked about, where it's just improving on the way you were able to utilize that bench last year. So you'd obviously be giving a little bit of the early runway to Austin, I imagine, unless there's some trade that happens, like you're going to try to let Ballesteros get some action there and really try to show himself as a hitter at this level, maybe Owen Casey as well. As I've said, I will continue to plant my flag that doesn't do it for me as an offseason. Losing Tucker and then signing a bunch of depth pieces and hoping your young players vault to that level is not a good idea, but we'll cross that bridge if we have to. But yeah, Brendan, outside of Alex Bregman, do you have any interest in the Cubs pursuing any of these other significant guys on offense? And I know we've talked about whether you'd be fine if they left it up to, some of the rookies and younger guys, but just overall thoughts in the offensive market as it continues to shake out here.
For me, it's Bregman, and that's it.
Does kind of seem that way.
I like Bo Bichette for the reasons that are obvious when they stand out. Number one, he's 27 years old. So you're going to sign a guy if he's available at his prime years versus someone who's 30 plus, whose prime years may be fewer in the future. The reason to not like Bo Bichette at that contract, let's say 150 million. The reason to not like that is first driven by the fact that he chases a lot. So his chase rate is in the 25th percentile. That means he's chasing more than about 75% of guys. You couple that with a bat speed that's almost in like the 10th percentile. So he chases a lot and he doesn't swing the bat hard often. That's the key word, is often, because what he does do well is he puts the barrel on the ball well. He's a really, really good hitter, elite contact or barrel to ball hitter. He's always been like that. In some respect, almost what you saw from Justin Turner in his mid to late 30s, where you sacrifice a ton of bat speed, but you have this uncanny ability to put the barrel on the ball. That is what Bo Bichette is. He's also someone who plays shortstop. So he has that reserve athleticism. That means you can go to third base. You could go to second base, again, in your prime years. Those are the reasons for optimism. I'm talking about risk aversion right now. I look at Alex Bregman. I think, what does he do bad? He doesn't chase. He's in the 90th percentile for chase. He doesn't whiff. He's in the 90th percentile for whiff, and he barrels the ball. He's like in the 90th percentile for barrel or hard hit rate, one of those two. So I can't critique Alex Bregman's offense as much as I can for the other guy. Then, from the fans' perspective, I hear all these stories about Alex Bregman's baseball rat attitude. I love those players. I love those. Those are the guys I gravitate towards as a fan. So just because of that, I'm interested in Bregman's attitude. That's why for me, it's Bregman, then a few notches down to Bichette. But if Bichette is available at a price that's value driven, I'm into it. It's just those conversations we'll have to have about what does it mean for the chase over time? How do we reconcile a small sample of bat speed in an injury-riddled year for a younger guy? And how does that relate to his ability to put the barrel on the ball? It's just a lot more questions that you just don't have with Alex Bregman.
How about someone like Geno Suarez? Any interest there?
Yes and no. One of the other reasons for Bregman is I like the positional flexibility as well. So the fact that Bregman can play third base and second base, I just like that. Geno Suarez can't play defense to the level I want my guys to play defense. So that is a huge problem for me. It's a matter, again, of how you make the puzzles fit, or the pieces of the puzzle fit. So if his value comes down, of course, because he has, that 40 plus home run pop, it's just not something that I would prioritize. Those would be plans C, D, E, and so on.
Sure. Also interesting, like, those are our types, so to speak. You like a baseball rat, like Nico Horner style offensive player, and I like an angry left-handed pitcher.
Right. I want my baseball players to be completely obsessive, borderline mentally ill, and I want them to be 100% intense all the time. Those are my guys, and that's Nico Horner, and looks like that's Alex Bregman.
And I like people like Ted Lilly and John Lester, angry left-handed pitcher.
As you snot rockets here and there, occasionally throw your glove in the dirt. There you go.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was tweeting back and forth with our guy Niren just a little bit about Suarez. That's one of those where it would be interesting to see if the Cubs decided to do that, how you were weighing that. Because part of the reason you were riding with Shaw, of course, him being a top prospect doesn't hurt, but he's playing stellar defense. And it certainly allowed you, I think, to feel more comfortable as he was going through those significant swing adjustments and growing pains in that first half, to be like, hey, like, he's killing it on defense, which is a huge part of our game, huge part of how this pitching staff was developed. So makes it a lot more comfortable to give him that runway to sort through these things at the plate, which of course he did, to the tune of a better second half.
I mean, I think they're all in play for the reasons you just said right there. They're all in play. And, Suarez, 34 years old, does not have a qualifying offer attached to him. He's someone who can be a DH. And if, let's say, Owen Casey or Bicero struggles, and say is more your everyday right fielder, and then a DH just for the time being before the trade deadline gets locked up for Suarez. So of course it makes sense. It's very easy to see Suarez make sense for this team at the price that allows him to fill out the starting pitching and bullpen.
Yeah, I think ultimately, again, like the order of it doesn't help. I understand fans get impatient, but even at the first tier and kind of the spending level we expect them to be at, they have a pretty significant amount of money to use. We've heard them active in, the areas that we want them to be active in. So it doesn't talk as cheap, right? Like it doesn't matter until you've made the team better. But I expect them to do that. We'll judge if it's in a significant enough way. But again, until, all their key players are off the boards and trades aren't possible and stuff like that, and, the final roster is shaping up and showing up in Mesa for spring training, got to kind of test your patience and just ride it out. And they will make this team better. We will evaluate as we go whether or not it's to the level that, satisfies each of us. And we'll disagree on that. We'll all argue about that and get into a fight about it.
It is interesting. You look at the projected payrolls for 26, how many teams are above the Cubs? Toronto, the Yankees, the Mets, Philadelphia, Atlanta. Where else are we going here? Of course, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Astros. It's like, why are we even having these discussions of those mid-market teams? We talk about Kyle Tucker and the foundation of this team with pre-arb guys in center field, in PCA, Bush at first base, and Shaw at third base. This is the time where you don't just pass the first tier, a little bit of the tax, go up to that second tier round where you see Philly and like 4 other teams, and you act like a big market. You act like a big boy, right? But unfortunately, our discussions are framed under the context of where they set the marker. And that's where a lot of fans, rightfully so, 100% rightfully so, are angry. Because what if we did have that second tier to work with? Well, the Kyle Tucker discussions become a hell of a lot more palatable when we talk about, okay, let's couple that with Imai, and let's bring back Brad Keller and Fairbanks, right? Like, though, that's a fun offseason. Instead, we're trying to pick and choose. Well, you can only pick 2 of the 3 potential paths forward. What do you pick? So we don't go past that first tier for the Chicago Cubs. That market, man, it is unfortunate that we do have these discussions. That is one lasting thought. It doesn't make my interest any less, but it is unfortunate that we do have to talk about this team in that context.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but it's been the reality for a while now, and it's just, I think, how they're going to operate. So that's how we will discuss things. Last thing for you in the last couple minutes, they did release some information. Obviously next year is the 10-year anniversary of the Chicago Cubs winning the 2016 World Series.
Oh, that's right.
That did happen.
It did happen.
They're going to have some guys at CubsCon. Of all the people, I don't know if you've looked at the graphic. It's not everybody. Anything you particularly want to see as they do this reunion stuff? John Lester's on the graphic. I already got what I came here for. So,
yeah, is David Ross on the graphic?
He is not listed. No,
that's unfortunate. I would like Ross to come back. I mean, like, he was such a crucial part.
Well, this
of that
also
team.
Could potentially just be what they're doing at CubsCon. I imagine. I mean, if they're smart, which sometimes they're not, it's good business to just milk that for every cent it's worth. So you could have a different 2016 celebration night at Wrigley every night next summer, and I would show up.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be great.
Again, I don't know how business savvy they are sometimes. So.
I don't know when the Rockies are coming to town. I know this is not the CubsCon stuff, but it would be great just talking about reunion to have KB there.
Yeah,
but yeah, CubsCon. Lester, right? Lester and Arrieta, and is Montero on that list?
Arrieta is not on this list.
Oh,
I'm
pretty sure.
And Zobrist is. Trevor, but Arrieta's been at the ballpark a bunch. He was there. He was
there during the playoffs. So.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Be interesting. I mean, look, the further away we get, of course, I crave another one, but I'll never take that for granted. They can celebrate that as much as they want, and I will enjoy it every time.
Thank
So,
God they won that.
yeah, good to see Kyle Hendricks on that list. Some of the other names on
That's
that
cool.
list.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I will enjoy that.
At CubsCon is probably the number one, given the recency and the retirement, for sure.
Any time they want to do it, but we can do both, right? We
sure can
celebrate 2016. We can also make a good, serious effort at 2026 as well. So we'll keep it here. CHGO Cubs, if there's an emergency show or anything like that, we'll keep you posted. Holiday schedule as the next couple weeks go. But however you celebrate or otherwise enjoy the holidays, enjoy the new year. We appreciate your guys' support, not just of Brendan and I, but CHGO Cubs. And certainly for those of you that have been listening to us for a long time, we appreciate it very much. So enjoy your holiday and New Year season. We will keep you posted on everything as it goes with the rumors. We appreciate your support. And as always, go Cubs.
We all silly like the mayor.